DreAllDay.com.
Check 1, 2. You are now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, yes, there is more. You get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves me, you, him, and her to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together in one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one book, one show, one master class, one audio experience that is known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. Today's topic: it's not everyone has to be a star. In our culture, Western civilization, this Western culture that most of us are from and living in, understand that it is situated around star culture. The Western world is situated around star culture. We look up to, we worship, we defeat whoever has the followers, whoever has the glossiest photos, whoever has the popularity, whoever has the shiny veneer. That person becomes the biggest and most important person in the room, or biggest and most important person on the news feed. And while there are some people out there who actually are stars, so there's a reason why they have the position that they have. I'm not mad at the fact that this is how people look up to the person who's in that star position. It's always been like that. It's not really a new thing. Just the fact that there are more people who have the potential to become stars because of the fact that we have the internet, and it's flattened that hierarchy out. The problem is, the reason why I'm talking about this is that there are many people out there who feel as if they need to become a star themselves because that's what they see everybody else doing. Because they see this opportunity to become a star, something that I talked about in masterclass number 1400. The title was Fuck All Influencers. If you didn't hear that episode, yes, you heard me right. Fuck All Influencers. That is masterclass number 1400. If you haven't heard that, go listen to it. But there are a lot of people out there who think they need to become a star or influencer themselves, not because they really need to, not because they really have anything that they want to say or anything they want to express or any real kind of impact that they want to make, but because they see everybody else doing it, so they think that that's what they need to do as well. I'm here to let you know today that that is absolutely the wrong reason to be going after becoming a star. Today I'm going to tell you why you do not need to become a star, and how you can be fully successful and fully personally fulfilled at the same time that you are not a star, or if you want to call it less than being a star in life. All right, there are other ways to win in life besides just being a star, or besides trying to become the influencer, or trying to do something that you've seen a whole bunch of other people doing and you think the grass is so green on that side of the fence. I'm gonna tell you why you don't even need to hop the fence in the first place. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is not everyone has to be a star. Understand that every winning team, every single one, from sports to business, to charity organizations, to families, any organization that is a successful, winning, thriving organization, absolutely, they all have this thing in common. They all have willing and capable role players. Everybody know what a role player is? I talked about everyone being a role player in Masterclass 1173. The topic is everyone is a role player. I talked about in Masterclass number 891, assuming a leadership role in anything that you do. And in number 834, knowing and accepting your role in business, sports, and life. Listen to Masterclass 834 and also 1173 so you can get very detailed on what I mean when I talk about being a role player. A role player is a person who suppresses his or her ego. They support the greater good. They support the group and the outcome for the greater good of everyone involved, not just for themselves personally. And the role player is a person who does not have a need, an innate need, to be the center of attention, the person that everybody is watching, the person that everybody's talking about. They don't need to be that person. What I respect most about people who take their roles and become a role player is this person's ability to play their position and not need to or try to become the top dog in their organization, because many people are conditioned to believe that that's either what we have to be or we're not fulfilling our potential. There are a lot of people out there, and probably some of them are listening to my voice right now, who you think, unless you're the top dog, unless you're in that number one spot, unless you're the one who's getting the biggest piece of chicken at the dinner table, unless you're the one who has the most attention, the most followers, or is making the most money, or just has the biggest title, you feel like you should always be striving for that. And if you don't have it, then that means you're not where you need to be yet, or that there's something wrong with you, or that you're coming up short in some way, or that you're letting yourself down, or you're not fulfilling your personal potential because you're not at the top spot compared to everybody else who is around. This is a wrong way of thinking that has been conditioned into you by what you've been looking at on the internet and looking at on TV for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years of your life. Every winning team has role players, ladies and gentlemen. Look around. We got sports fans listening to this show. Chicago Bulls, when Michael Jordan was playing, how many stars did they have? You could say maybe 2, maybe 3. Michael Jordan was the main star. We know this. Scottie Pippen was the second banana, but he was pretty damn good. You could call him a star. And you could say maybe Dennis Rodman was a star because of his personality, not necessarily because of the way that he played basketball. He was a damn good basketball player. He's a Hall of Famer after everything that he did in his career. Michael Jordan was the main star of that team. When Michael Jordan walked in the room, he was the star. When he walked in the room, all the reporters went to him. When he walked in the room, everybody was looking at him. Now, I'm telling you that not to tell you that you need to go out and try to be Michael Jordan. What I'm telling you is there were 13, 14 other guys on that roster. At the same time, when Michael walked in the room and everybody was looking at Michael, those other 14 guys were okay, at least good enough to do their job with the fact that, you know what, when Mike walks in the room, everybody's going to be looking at Mike and nobody's going to be looking at me. And they were all right with that. They were playing their role. They understood that this guy's going to get all the attention. He's going to get all the money. He's going to get all the endorsements. If we win, he's going to get all the trophies. If we lose, people are going to be saying, what the hell is wrong with Michael Jordan? Or they're going to be blaming us, actually, the role players. And they all accepted that. They all accepted that role. Every winning team, and the Bulls, if you didn't know, they were a winning team. Or they won a whole lot of games. There's a Michael Jordan documentary series that was supposed to come out around June of 2020, but I heard that they might have moved it up. So by the time you're listening to this, it might have already come out because of that whole, with the NBA season getting postponed, maybe even canceled by the time you hear this. They were going to put that out because people needed some basketball material to watch. So every willing team, in other words, what I was saying, has willing and capable role players. Any of you watch basketball, you know that the All-Star game is only one game. You know why the All-Star game is only one game? Because it's only so long that you can take all those guys who are used to being a star and tell a whole bunch of them that they got to be role players for it. They got to be role players on this team. Not that those guys are incapable of being role players. They're obviously highly skilled, but mentally they probably don't want to be that. Mentally, they have not accepted playing a role. They've accepted being a star. So this is the reason why the All-Star game, sometimes the play is sloppy, it's not very smooth, but it's fun to watch because you got all these people who are so talented. But the gameplay itself is actually not very high quality usually in the All-Star game, so because you guys aren't comfortable with each other and nobody on that court is used to playing a role. Everybody's used to being a star. But on a regular quote-unquote team, there are people who know their role. They accept the fact that they're going to play a role. They accept that they're not a star. They accept that there may be casual fans at the game who don't even know who they are. Like, who is that guy, number 22? I don't even know who he is. But they're all right with that. They accept that. And every successful team has role players. Any business, anyone here who runs a business team, there are role players on that team. People who are not the star. People might not even know who the hell they are outside of your organization. If they're not the person who represents the company or any of that, nobody knows them. But they are willing and able to happily play that role of not being known, not being the front man or the front woman. And they're cool with that because they don't need that they're not trying to fill some hole in their soul by being the star of a team. There are a lot of people these days who feel like unless they're the star or unless they're aiming to be the star, that they're less than or they're not doing everything they could be doing for themselves. Again, I know where you've gotten this idea from because it's been beaten into your head as part of our culture. But understand, no winning team is without role players. There is no winning team that has ever existed that just had a whole bunch of stars and everything just worked because you had so many stars and the star power just won out. Even when you take a whole bunch of stars and put them together, eventually people are going to fall into a hierarchy. There will be roles that need to be played. I think in the movie Ocean's 11 with George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Don Cheadle, Bernie Mac, and a whole bunch of great acting, Matt Damon, a whole bunch of great actors and actresses all in that movie all at the same time. But there was a hierarchy there. At least on the screen, there was a hierarchy. And I bet when they were off camera, there was a hierarchy as well. People had to play their roles. People had to understand, okay, I'm not the star in this movie. I'm playing a role in this movie. I'm part of the supporting cast, and I'm all right with that. I'm not the star in this film. It's all good. I'm good with that. What you don't want is people on your team who believe they should be a star, but they've been cast into a role, because those people will be malcontents, they will be cancers, and they will destroy your organization from the inside out. So if you find people who fit that description, you got to get rid of them. What I respect most about role players is the fact that they don't need to be the top dog. They're all right playing their position, because many people think that somehow, some way, we all got to become stars or something's wrong with us. It doesn't work that way. People got to be willing to play their spot. And every willing team has people willing to do this. Every business, every family, every charitable organization, every sports team, at least the ones that win. Point number 2. Today's topic is not everyone needs to be a star. Let's talk a little bit about being that star, though, if you decide that's what you want to go after. Because I know you've been conditioned to think this, and nothing that I said in the last 10 minutes is going to just change your mind that fast. Maybe. Point number 2, when you're the star, you have to own responsibility. Meaning, every loss, every unsolved mystery, every problem that has not yet been fixed, every issue that has not yet been addressed, they all eventually fall into your lap. Unless you have trained someone who can handle them, found and trained someone who can handle them, they all fall into your lap in the end. If nobody else has dealt with them, you got to deal with them. And the buck stops with you. And your work does not end until you figured out a solution. Everybody heard that? When you decide you want that star position, you want that corner office, you want your name on the door, you have to own the responsibility that comes with it. Meaning every time the team loses, it's your fault. Every mystery that has not been solved eventually is going to find its way to you, and you got to figure it out. If you don't solve it, then y'all got a problem. And if you don't figure it out, it'll be your head on the chopping block. It'll be you that goes to the guillotine. When companies are failing, and the shareholders call a meeting, you know what they do? They don't fire the middle managers. They don't fire the mail guy. They don't fire the people who make coffee. You know who they fire? They fire the CEO. They replace the person on top. They replace the star. Even when it's clear that the middle managers are the reason for the failure. It's clear that the middle managers are just not doing their job. The CEO is the one who takes the fall for it. Why? Because the CEO is in charge. The CEO decided that he or she wanted to be the star. So if you want to be the star in life, you got to live with the reality that every mistake that gets made by the group is your mistake. You own the failures of everyone who is on your team. Even when their mistakes are not your fault, you had nothing to do with it. You might not even know that they did it until you find out that they made a mistake. It's still your responsibility because they're on your team. If you're ready for that type of responsibility, then you might be ready to become a star. If there's an opportunity for you there. Where you're at right now, you might not have the opportunity to be a star. You might have to play your position, play your role, bide your time for a little bit. Kobe Bryant, when he was teammates with a guy by the name of Shaquille O'Neal was the guy in Los Angeles. He was the guy for 3 years. They won those championships. Shaquille O'Neal was the guy. Now, Kobe slowly started to get a little bit better, put up better stats, till eventually got to the point where Kobe wanted Shaq to be out so that Kobe could see what it felt like to be the star. Now, the thing about Kobe is that he was good enough to be the star when he finally got a chance at being a star. But you got to remember that Kobe went through a good 4 or 5 years of unsuccessful star role position basketball. His team was not very good. They were not advancing too far in the playoffs. It got to the point that Kobe was even asking for a trade because he didn't like the team that the Lakers had around him. Then they went and got some better players and a stroke of luck / genius, and they became a good team. Kobe won some championships, and it all went into his history. But understand that when you become that star person, you own the failures of everything that's happening around you. If the group fails, you failed. Or even if you were personally brilliant, if the group failed, you failed. Every team problem is your problem. Every problem with the team, when you're a star, is your personal problem because you're the boss. When you take that corner desk, when you take that seat at the head of the table, you take everything that comes with it, not just the convenient parts, not just the magazine covers, not just the fact you get to get introduced last at the games, not just the fact that you get the biggest plate of food at dinner time. You get all of it. All the problems become yours, as well as all the successes becoming yours. Even the problems that you don't know how to solve, you better figure out how to solve them, or it might be your head falling into the basket under the guillotine. Point number 3. Today's topic is not everyone needs to be a star. Understand that everybody needs to learn to get in where they fit in life. Does everybody know what that means, to get in where you fit in? Too many of us live life playing roles that we don't belong in because we feel like we're, quote, supposed to, close quote, have them. Okay, I'm going to take that head spot, or I'm going to start my own company and be my own boss and be in charge. Why? Because you feel like that's what you need to do. I'm supposed to do that. I'm supposed to take the lead spot. I'm supposed to be the person in charge. I'm supposed to be the person on top. Listen to masterclasses number 1448 and 1449, whose topics are reconnecting with your instincts and everything and for everybody, respectively. And stop forcing yourself to believe something that you know just is not true. All right, stop forcing yourself to try to hold down that star position when you know the star position is not for you. It's just not going to work out for you. It's just not in the cards. It just doesn't make sense based on who you are, where you are, what you're doing, what you're bringing to the table, and the outcomes that you wish to create. Maybe you don't even know what outcomes you wish to create. You just know you want to be in a star position. Why? Because you've been looking at Instagram and Facebook and TV too much. You don't have to do what you're seeing those people do. And there are a whole lot of other people out there who are not doing it and you just don't know about. And this is one of the biases that human beings have, is that the more we see something, the more importance we give to it. We give an disproportionate amount of importance to something because we see it so many times. And the things that we don't see, as the saying goes, out of sight, out of mind. We're not paying attention to it. We're not thinking about it. We give it a very low level of importance because it's not in our face all the time. This is why people do advertising. The more we see something, the more credibility we give to it, the bigger of a story it becomes to us, simply because it's in front of us. Not necessarily because it's actually a big story, not because it actually warrants our attention, not because it's actually any value in it, simply because it's available to us. We give it an inordinate amount of importance because we're giving it an inordinate amount of attention. So again, masterclass number 1448, 1449, learning that everything ain't for everybody, and reconnecting with your instincts. So stop forcing yourself to believe something that you know in your heart of hearts is not true. A basketball team has 12 people on it, roughly, and 1, maybe 2 stars on every team. That's it. So if there are 1 or 2 stars on every team, and there are 12 people on the team, that means you got at least 10 people on every team who is not a star. 10 people who are willing to play their role. 10 people who are willing to get into and play a position. Everybody else, all those role players on every basketball team who's not a star, they got to play their position and they got to be happy about playing their position. What many smart people find out in life is that while they may not be so well suited for the starring role in their organization, they can win a whole lot of supporting role trophies. The Chicago Bulls, as I mentioned earlier, Scottie Pippen was not the star of that team. When Michael Jordan retired for a year plus, Scottie Pippen assumed the star role. But then when Michael Jordan came back, Scottie slid right back into the supporting role. And Scottie Pippen won 6 championships as a supporting player. And people talk about Scottie reverently and say, hey, this guy was one of the greatest second bananas, as they say, of all time. And some people use that second banana or a supporting role or supporting cast title as like in a negative way, like, oh, you weren't the star, you were behind this person, you only won because this person was a star and they were doing everything and you just happened to be tagging along for it. Well, I want you to understand those ideas, those concepts that you have in your head, those have all been given to you again by the culture that we live in. It tells you, oh, you got to be the star, you got to do everything. If you're not doing everything and you're not being the star, you're not trying to get that head spot, there's something wrong with you. You're being lesser than, you're not fulfilling your potential. You don't have to be the star. Listen, Scottie Pippen got 6 championships. There are a lot of people who've come through the NBA who were the star for many years, no championships, no Hall of Fame. People don't know their name. All right, they don't have any jewelry on their fingers. They can't say they won titles. Their number's not retired, even though they were the star. So just because you see what's happening in the star role doesn't necessarily mean that you need to take it for yourself. As I said, smart people find out that while the star role isn't for everybody and it may not be for them, they can still be successful playing a supporting role. I mean, think about any business organization and the famous business people that you know of. Name 5 famous business people that you know of. Now once you name those 5 people, you got them? Those 5 people that you name? All right, now name the supporting people who are around those individuals, helping them do what they do. Now, I know I've given you more time than you needed. Why? Because you probably can't name not one of them. You probably can't name not one supporting person who is around any of those 5 well-known business people that you just named. You know why? Because those people aren't the frontline individuals. They aren't out there trying to make sure everybody knows their name. They're not going after the magazine covers. They're not trying to get a whole bunch of followers on social media. They're okay playing a supporting role. And listen, most people in life are playing supporting roles. If you take every winning organization in the world, sports, business, families, charitable organizations, every other organization where people are winning and succeeding, by whatever definition you would give that, and you listed everybody who is a part of all of those organizations, the majority of those people are not stars. The majority of the people in all these people on this list are all in winning organizations. 90+% of them are not playing starring roles. 90+% of them are playing supporting roles, but they're part of a winning team. So when the championship gets won and rings get passed out, they're getting one. When the bonus checks get passed out because that organization is a championship organization, they're getting a bonus check. When that organization goes into the Hall of Fame for all the successes they created, they are part of that. They can put that on their resume that they won that championship, that they went into the Hall of Fame, that they won this many times in a supporting role. But so many people want to be stars that they're willing to sabotage and sacrifice their own chances of success just so they can get into a star position, just so they can say, hey, yeah, I'm sitting in that first seat. I'm sitting in that number one spot. But is your organization going to win with you in the number one spot? Is that the position that you are actually best suited for? Or are you better suited for a supporting role? And are you willing to have a honest conversation with yourself about that? Are you willing to come clean with yourself about where you really belong? Do you belong in a star role? Do you belong in a supporting role? Everybody can't be a star. Everybody wants to be a star, or not. I'm not going to say everybody. A lot of people want to be a star, which is why I made masterclass number 1400 titled "Fuck All Influencers." But you don't need to be a star. You can support somebody who is a star, and you can win by supporting them. Because every star needs support. Every winning star needs a supporting cast around them. But it's hard to find people who are willing to play their position, who can play their position well, who will show up and do it consistently, and they're all right with the fact that when all the cameras come out and all the attention's being doled out, they're not getting the lion's share of it. Now, who listening to this fits that description, that you're okay not being a star, being in a supporting role, and when that star is getting all the attention because the team is winning, you're all right with the fact that they're getting the attention and it's not going to you. Even though you have given a hell of a contribution, you're just not going to get as much recognition for it simply because you're not the headline individual. How many people are comfortable with that? Now, there are a lot of people who are qualified to do that role who are not comfortable with doing that role. And if you're not both, then you're not going to do well in a supporting role. The person who should be in a supporting role, but they believe they should be a star, you got to let them go and try. Let them fail, and they could fail their whole lives trying to be a star, or they could eventually come to their senses and say, let me get into the supporting spot. And there are people who are going to just fail their whole lives trying to be in a star role that don't belong there. And then you got the people who you say, you know what? The star role is not for me. I'd rather get into a supporting role, support somebody who's in a starring role, do a great job in your supporting role, and win, and you get to ride that train, you get to ride that wave to the victory just like everybody else. You're part of the wave. You're not riding the wave. You are creating the wave, and you're part of it. But it can get increasingly harder to find those individuals because everybody's trying to be a star. And that's why I made this masterclass, as we recap it. Not everyone has to be a star in life. The Western world is situated around this star culture. Person who has the followers, the photos, the popularity, the shiny veneer. This is the biggest and most important person in the eyes of many people. And though there are some people who fit that description and they actually are stars and they should be stars, the problem is there are a whole lot of people who feel as if they need to become stars because that's what they see everybody else doing. That is absolutely wrong. And I'm telling you here why you don't need to become a star and how you can still be successful and still be personally fulfilled at the same time as you're not being a star. Number one, every winning team has willing and capable role players. These are people who suppress their ego, people who support the group, and people who don't need to be the center of attention. This is the person who is willing to play their position and doesn't need to be the top dog. Because many people are conditioned to think that if you're not going after the top spot, that you're somehow not getting the best out of yourself, or you're not fulfilling your potential. That is not true. Everybody's not supposed to be a star. Every team needs role players. Point number two. When you are the star, you have to own all responsibility. Every loss falls in your lap, and the work is not done until you figured out every unsolved mystery. And if you don't figure it out, it's your head that's going to the guillotine. All right, it's not everybody else's. Shareholders don't fire middle managers when the company is failing. They fire the CEO even when the middle manager is the actual problem. You want to be a star, you got to live with this reality. Every team problem is your problem. Number three, everybody needs to get in where they fit in life. Too many people are in roles that they don't belong in because they feel like they're supposed to have a certain role. They're not actually listening to their instincts. But I talked about this in Masterclass 1448, how to reconnect with your instincts. And in 1449, everything ain't for everybody. Stop forcing yourself to believe something that you know is not true about you. A basketball team has 12 people on it, 1, maybe 2 stars on every team. So that means over 90% of the people on a winning basketball team are not going to be a star, but they all get a championship ring. They all get a check. They all get to be part of the parade. They all get to put champion on their resume. But so many people think the only way they can win, quote unquote, is by being a star, when you might not be suited to win as a star. You could become a star and just lose the rest of your life, or you can win by jumping on and helping create and riding the wave of a winning team organization. What many smart people find out is just that they may not be so well suited to be the star, but they can join as in a supporting role position on a winning team, be part of the winning of that team, and they get just as much a winning share as everybody else because they joined the right team, they played their right position. Everybody ain't got to be a star. Some people do, but a lot of people don't. 90+% of people in winning organizations are not stars. You don't have to be one. Play the position that best suits you, but you got to be honest with yourself to know what that is. Work on your game. Dre, all